Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namune.
On the island called Nagalaya, Garuda, Lord Vishnu's powerful carrier, with great strength struck Kalia the demon snake with his golden wings, and in retaliation Kalia fought back with his many hoods and poisonous sharp teeth by trying to bite Garuda. Garuda was so angry and hostile towards Kalia because the demon snake, who was so envious of Garuda, ate the sacrificial offering that was meant for him. Kalia, who was no match for the mighty bird carrier of Vishnu, at once left in great fear and haste for the lagoon called Kalia Hrada. Kalia Hrada is located in the Jamuna river, and there he hid in the waters of the Jamuna for many years. One summer day, Govinda went with the cowherd boys to the riverbank of the Jamuna to take care of the cows. As the day grew, the cows and the boys became very thirsty. To quench their thirst, they started drinking the water from the river. Right after drinking the water, the boys and the cows fell on the ground, dead. Seeing this, Govinda, the protector and the heart and soul of the boys and cows, with great compassion, looked at the boys and the cows who were lying on the ground. Instantly, all of them recovered and became aware of their surroundings. With great amazement, they looked at each other, and they understood that they had all been poisoned by the water of the Jamuna river and had died, but were then brought back to life by the compassionate glance of Govinda. The powerful black demon serpent Kalia, who has been hiding in the waters of the Jamuna river, constantly released toxic fumes, and because of this, the whole surrounding became so extremely contaminated and poisoned that the trees, the grass, the birds, and the animals who visited the surrounding areas of the Jamuna river would all die. Seeing that the waters of the Jamuna river were being poisoned by the powerful demon Kalia, Govinda right away climbed the kadamba tree that was on the riverbank. Once on top of the kadamba tree, he tightened his belt, and like a wrestler getting ready to crush his adversary, he slapped his arms and jumped into the waters of the river. The river overflowed as Govinda's body hit the water, and it felt like a huge object had fallen into the river, so that the water overflowed 100 yards inland. With great strength, Govinda swam around in the polluted river. Govinda made a thunderous sound while he was swimming, and the black demoniac serpent heard this. The deafening sound was so unbearable that it was too much for the black evil serpent. Kalia realized that his abode was being attacked. Right away, in great fury, the evil serpent with many heads confronted his attacker. But upon seeing Govinda, Kalia was struck with awe. He was amazed by the beauty of Govinda. His body was so adorable and exquisite. The color of Govinda's body resembled a bluish-black monsoon cloud. He was adorned with magnificent jewels, golden yellow clothing, and the Srivatsa. The powerful serpent Kalia saw the most beautiful smiling face of Govinda as Govinda swam with great force in the waters of the Jamuna. Despite seeing the most beautiful form of Govinda, the evil serpent was furious. With an enraged heart, he attacked Govinda with all his fury. Using his mighty coils, the evil snake Kalia wrapped his powerful coils around the delicate body of Govinda, tightly squeezing him with all his might. Upon witnessing how Govinda was trapped and engulfed by the mighty coils of the serpent, the cowherd boys who were at the banks of the river felt devastated with fear and anguish. Out of extreme grief, the cowherd boys fell to the ground. Govinda is their dearmost friend, their life and soul. Overburdened by anguish, the cows, the calves, and the bulls who were also at the riverbank of the Jamuna felt helpless, and all they could do was stare at their beloved Govinda and cry. While all of this was happening on the riverbank of the Jamuna, strange occurrences started happening. The ground shook, stars fell from the sky, and the left part of the bodies of the adult males started trembling. These were ominous signs that a catastrophe was about to happen. Nanda Maharaj, the father of Govinda, and the cowherd men who were at the village of Vrindavan at that time saw the grave signs occurring and grew extremely fearful and distressed, especially when they heard that Govinda left the village with the cowherd boys without Balaram, his elder brother, to take care of the cows at the pasturing ground. Yasoda, the mother of Govinda, who was also at the village, became extremely terrified when she heard the news. The villagers of Vrindavan are intensely attached to Govinda. Govinda is their beloved, their heart and soul. And because of their intense affection for Govinda, they thought that Govinda would surely be destroyed. In deep anxiety, Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, all the cowherd men, the children, the women, the animals, and all the other inhabitants living in Vrindavan departed immediately for the pasturing ground to search for Govinda. But while all of this was taking place, Balaram, the older brother of Govinda, who was standing there, observing the sad and chaotic situation, was just smiling. Balaram knew that Govinda is all-powerful, and that a serpent of this world, however powerful he might be, could not defeat Govinda. The denizens of Vrindavan, who were overwhelmed with anxiety, started searching hurriedly for Govinda. They followed Govinda's footprints on the ground, which were marked with the flag, the conch shell, and the bow. And finally, they arrived at the banks of the Jamuna River. Upon arriving, they became more grief-stricken when they saw the cows and the cowherd boys crying. And looking further towards the water of the Jamuna, they saw the mighty coils of the powerful black serpent wrapped around Govinda. Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yasoda, The cowherd men, the women, the children, the animals, and all the other inhabitants of Vrindavan were devastated when they saw Govinda trapped in the mighty clutches of Kalia. Mother Yasoda wanted to go into the water of the river towards Govinda, but she was stopped by the women. Out of extreme grief, she became unconscious and fell to the ground. Similarly distressed, the friends of Mother Yasoda who were crying tried to revive her, but to no avail. Mother Yasoda lay on the ground, motionless. Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men also wanted to enter the waters of the Jamuna to save Govinda, but Balaram stopped them. Balaram knew that Govinda was in no threat at all. After a few hours of being trapped in the mighty coils of Kalia, the cowherd men, the gopis, Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, the cows, and the other inhabitants of Vrindavan were on the brink of death due to the intense agony that they were experiencing. Govinda expanded himself, and the demon serpent experienced severe exhaustion, and because of this, his grasp on Govinda loosened. At this point, Govinda freed himself. Kalia, the black serpent, became furious. He expanded his many heads. Toxic fumes emanated from his nostrils. Deadly flames radiated from his mouth, and his eyes were like blazing fire. At one point, the deadly serpent did not move. He stayed motionless and looked at Govinda with intense rage. He moistened his forked tongues while his eyes burned with anger. He was trying to find a way to strike Govinda with his venomous fangs. But Govinda moved swiftly and attacked the deadly serpent. He lunged at the vicious snake with great force. Govinda maneuvered skillfully around Kalia. As both Kalia and Govinda fought and wrestled, the black-hearted serpent felt exhausted. His power dwindled, and Govinda quickly stepped and crushed the snake's heads. He danced and pounced on the serpent's many heads that were swaying about here and there. The delicate feet of Govinda appeared a little reddish due to the reflection coming from the red jewels that were embedded on Kalia's heads. At this point, the inhabitants of the heavenly planets who were watching the battle between Kalia and Govinda started to rejoice. They showered flowers on Govinda and sang all kinds of hymns and songs. One could hear various kinds of flutes being played and the ecstatic beating of drums. The residents of the upper planetary systems, like the Siddhas, the Gandharvas, and the demigods, were so happy to witness the glorious event. As Govinda danced and pounced ferociously on Kalia's heads with his delicate lotus feet, the envious serpent who possessed 100 heads was exasperated. He shoved Govinda downwards with great force, using his many heads, but Govinda violently smashed Kalia's powerful heads. The impact of Govinda's attack was too much for the deadly serpent. Like a wrestler being beaten and crushed by the blows of a very powerful opponent, the demoniac serpent was completely defeated. Kalia was completely exhausted. The once powerful serpent had no strength left in him. On the brink of death, the black snake, gasping for his very life, started vomiting all kinds of toxic refuse, and flames emanated from his mouth. Furious and enraged, Kalia, with one final effort, raised one of his heads to destroy Govinda. But Govinda quickly caught and overpowered the wicked serpent with his powerful kicks. the most beautiful Govinda trampled and danced on the snake's heads. Kalia, because of extreme exhaustion, started spewing blood. The once mighty serpent appeared devastated, shattered. While blood was still dripping from his many mouths, Kalia finally realized that Govinda was not an ordinary boy, but the most powerful, supreme person. Finally, the defeated Kalia surrendered to Govinda. Seeing their husband at the brink of death, beaten and vanquished by the all-powerful Govinda, the supreme enjoyer, Kalia's wives, who were also known as the Nagapatnis, appeared in great haste. Their clothing, ornaments, and hair in utter chaos, they ran towards Govinda to surrender and to worship him. The Nagapatnis prayed and begged Govinda to forgive Kalia. After hearing the humble appeals of Kalia's wives, the most beautiful, the most adorable Govinda released Kalia. Kalia, who lost consciousness due to Govinda's extremely powerful blows, now regained awareness. The once arrogant and mighty Kalia, with folded hands, surrendered to Govinda and submissively prayed and begged for his mercy. Upon hearing Kalia's prayers, the supremely lovable Govinda commanded Kalia to leave the Jamuna river with his wives, children, and all that he possessed. Govinda instructed Kalia not to pollute the Jamuna river so that the cows and the cowherd boys could drink from the river without any impediment. With all the inhabitants of Vrindavan listening carefully, Govinda announced that the command given to Kalia be repeated to all so that no one would fear Kalia anymore. Govinda also proclaimed that anyone who bathed in the same water where he and his cowherd friends had swum, or if a person underwent a fast for one day, or offered a sacrifice to the ancestors with the water from the lake, they would be purified and freed from all reactions of their sins. Govinda guaranteed Kalia that Garuda would not again disturb or eat him, because Garuda would see the marks of his delicate lotus feet embedded on his many heads. Upon hearing Govinda's command, the serpent and his wives again worshipped Govinda, offering him exquisite clothing, gorgeous wreath of flowers and leaves, dazzling gemstones, aromatic blooms, nectarian fruits, the chandana pulp or sandalwood pulp, and fragrant flowers of the lotus. Govinda, the master of Garuda, was satisfied and happy with Kalia and his wives. Thereafter, acting on Govinda's command, Kalia, his wives, and all his children left the lake in the river of the Jamuna and headed out for the ocean.
As the mountains and the rivers of Vrindavan sing your praise, as I gazed in awe and wonder at the beauty of your face, as you smiled and laughed with loved ones, my empty heart declares, oh Govinda, how you fill my heart with love. Through the pastures and the valleys, where you play with souls so pure, where your mischief is a legend, where your glorious name endures. As you smile and laughed with loved ones, my empty heart declares, oh Govinda, how you fill my heart